What time is it? Is it afternoon? Okay. We got everybody? Good afternoon, everyone. What a morning, what an afternoon. There are a ton of folks here who need to be thanked and recognized, and we have some folks who are on a phone line because they physically could not be here. So let me make mention of those folks first. I was just on a conference call with DNC Chairwoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Governor Rendell. Congressman Brady, as I understand, is on Governor Rendell is out of town. Congressman Brady is in D.C. He's on the phone. Senator Casey is on the phone. He's in D.C., of course, as well as Congress members Brendan Boyle and Congressman Fattah, all of whom have been actively engaged and involved in this process. I also want to make reference, of course, to Governor Tom Wolf, who I've talked to on a number of occasions, and he's had some very important discussions with, again, Congresswoman and Chairwoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz. And I also want to thank Congresswoman Allison Schwartz, who participated in a number of our meetings and discussions in this regard. I'm joined, of course, by an incredible array of really great, focused, committed, and dedicated public servants, not only on this particular issue, which is one of the reasons that we were successful, but on so many things that happen here in Philadelphia. And it's because of all these folks that we're able to do some of the big things that we do in the city. First and foremost, let me thank Council President Clarke and all the members of City Council who are here. I think we almost have a quorum, but we're in public, so it's okay. Our great leader here, Councilwoman Marion Tasco, who is a member of the DNC, as am I. State Senator Shirley Kitchen and the entire Philadelphia Senate delegation, and Representative Sherelle Parker, again, chair of the Philly House delegation as well. We want to thank all of them. Our business community, represented certainly by who was just here yesterday for a different announcement, but Dan Hilferty, who has taken on a great leadership role for us in this regard. Greg Fox, who is the chair of the Pennsylvania Convention Center, of which Councilman Tasco is also a member there. Our hospitality community, I know that Jack Ferguson is running around here somewhere, and also Julie Coker, Merrill Levitz, Visit Philly, and just for extra support, of course, we see our great men and women in blue, Philadelphia Police Department represented, the Fire Department represented, who So, as you can imagine, we are particularly excited about this opportunity. What I want to do is I have some prepared remarks, and we'll, of course, take questions. But I want to give those who are not here with us at the moment the opportunity to have their voices heard through the wonders of technology. Hopefully it will actually work. If Mark and company or somebody in the back, if we could, if Governor Rendell can hear me, would you please give, you got a packed room here, Governor. Please let the folks hear from you as our leader of PHL DNC 2016.
Well, thank you, Mayor. And actually, to be technical, I am here. You just have to turn around and look at the back of the wall, so I am. But it's a great pleasure to be here. And I want to just say a few quick things, and then we'll take some questions after the other Congressman and Senator Casey get a chance to say a word. One, the Mayor, he and his team did a tremendous job. The Mayor, Congressman Brady, sort of instigated this, got it together about a year and a half ago, and pushed the Mayor, pushed me, and the Mayor had been planning this since 2010, but Congressman Brady sort of jump-started the car, but then the Mayor took the bull by the horns and he did an absolutely spectacular job. On behalf of the Host Committee, and I am the chairman of the Host Committee, we needed a lot of help from the city. We couldn't have done it on our own. And the Mayor and his crew, and I won't name them because there's too many to name, they were sensational. Congressman Brady, of course, played the role of instigator, as he always is, and we couldn't have done it without him. Senator Casey of Columbus made a very strong bid. Senator Sherrod Brown calling Congresswoman chairperson every Washo and Schultz every day. So we got Bob Casey involved, and he did a tremendously effective job. Our entire congressional delegation, including Congresswoman Schwartz, was terrific, and they weighed in. It was a great effort. Everyone did a great job. What won it for us was 2000 convention, which I think most political observers think is the best run convention in the last 25 years. A lot of that team, the security people, the police department, the Wells Fargo people, the SEPTA people, a lot of that team is back together on this bid, and that gave them a great deal of confidence. We were able to get David Cohen, who basically, after I became Democratic chairman, ran the 2000 convention. We got David as a senior advisor to Philadelphia 2016. So we assembled a great team. Kevin Washo and his group did a great job building up to this day. So everyone deserves a lot of credit. But the hard work begins literally tomorrow. I mean, I'm in Phoenix, so hard work will wait till I get back on Saturday a little bit. But we've got a lot of work ahead of us. We made a lot of promises to the DNC. I know on behalf of the mayor and the convention organization, we intend to live up to every promise and then some. We intend to be a great convention. As our slogan says, we intend to make history again in Philadelphia in 2016. So with that, Mayor, back to you.
Governor, thank you very, very much. And we're going to hear from Congressman Brady. I need to say just a couple things. Congressman Brady has been talking about trying to get the Democratic National Convention in Philadelphia, at least from the start of the time that I became mayor. Those conversations heated up in 8 and 9. Unfortunately, at the same time, we were going through the recession, and you know that the bidding process really starts in earnest about 2 years before a convention is landed. And much to his disappointment, and I had to deliver that news to him, as sometimes I have to deliver bad news. I said that I didn't think that we were in a position at that time, in 2009 and 2010, to really put our focus and resources on trying to get the 2012 convention. But at his suggestion, I did write a letter to the then chair of the DNC and made a commitment that Philadelphia would be first in line in actively pursuing the 2016 convention. Now, that was back in 2009, 2010. 2016 sounds like a long, long time away. Well, if you hang around long enough, the calendar catches up with you. And we did start those efforts. And the congressman started these meetings down the street at the Union League and other places, and people were involved. And we had a series of discussions, private discussions about this effort. And the culmination, of course, is where we are today. And so, to one of the great champions of this entire effort, let us hear from Congressman and our party chair here in Philadelphia, Congressman Bob Brady.
Thank you, Mayor. It's been a long 3 years. I'd like to thank everyone who was at our first meeting 2 years ago. I know most of you in the room. And again, thank everybody who was at our second meeting, which was maybe a year and a half ago, giving me the drive to keep on pushing to get this thing done. Naturally, I thank Governor Rendell, who I asked to chair this, and he agreed and knew he didn't know how to do it. He prolific fundraiser and a great schmoozer and can do the job that we needed to get done. And Mr. Mayor, thank you and all your staff. Thank you for your engagement. Without you, again, this wouldn't happen at all. We wouldn't be in this room. Also, naturally, thank Kevin Washo, who did most of the work to get here and is going to do most of the work until 2016. And naturally, thank all the business community, the tourist community, our unions, all our elected officials. And now the work begins, as the governor said. But I just want to say one thing. Hugs do work. They do work. I hugged Debbie Wasserman Schultz for the last half a year, every time I was on the floor and every time I seen her. I missed her one time, so I hugged her chief of staff. I gave him a bear hug. So we got to thank her because she was someone who was really in our corner. She had to do the due diligence to make sure that this happened, and it's happening. So I am now pledging myself any way, shape, or form, whatever has to get done, however I have to do it, to keep coordinating this and keep trying to get this together. And I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled naturally to to show off our great city, to show off our great assets. And I got a lot of work to do because I've already been inundated by phone calls from my members wanting better hotel rooms, wanting to know what restaurants to go to, how many dinners am I going to buy. But it's great. It's great for the city. It's great for our town. And I thank everybody, again, with all the cooperation and all the coordination, this happened. We're in a major show right now. We will be able to show off our great city. We'll be able to show our great assets to the world, to the country, and to the world. Mr. Mayor, thank you for doing this. Again, Governor Rendell, thank you, and look forward to continue to work and keep on doing what we're doing. And thank everybody in that room and those that couldn't be in that room. Appreciate all your time and all your effort, and that'll work begins. Thank you all, and God bless you.
Thank you, Congressman Brady. One that we know has a very close friendship and relationship with the President of the United States of America. Let us now hear from Senator Bob Casey.
Hey, Mayor, thanks so much. I want to continue Bob Brady's theme about hugs. I met Bob Brady 29 years ago, and at one point he was driving me around Philadelphia. I promised him today that I will drive him every day of the convention because of his great work. So, Bob, thank you for having the idea originally and for pushing all of us to work together. I can't say enough about the work and the determination of Mayor Nutter, Governor Rendell, and the whole team. Kevin Washo is someone I've known for years and has worked so hard on this. But it extended well beyond that. Elected officials, government officials at every level of government, every branch of government, and business and labor and clergy. And what a unified effort. It was one of the greatest testaments to Philadelphia that I've seen in our history. It's a great day for the city. It's a great day for the Commonwealth. And it's also will be a great convention for the country. Philadelphia is the birthplace of America, and we also believe, and I think the likelihood is very high, that our nominee will make history as well. So it's entirely appropriate and fitting that Philadelphia is a choice. So really grateful to be part of this, and want to congratulate so many who worked so hard on this.
Thank you, Senator. Let us hear from Congressman Fattah.
Mr. Mayor, congratulations. The first call I made was to Chairman Bob Brady because he started this, and I think that the work that was done by Governor Rendell, by yourself, by the team, by Jordan Swartz, who's just been extraordinary in this effort, got us to this moment. And the mayor and I met last evening here in Washington and to make sure that if we were successful, that we can make sure that the federal participation, there'll be $50 million that'll be carried in my appropriations bill, the Commerce, Justice, Science bill, to support the convention in terms of security, and that'll be a primary focus and as something we would do just to make sure that the resources are in place. But I think with the Pope coming to Philadelphia and now the Democratic Convention, this is just an extraordinary acknowledgement of the world-class city that we call home. So thanks everybody for their help, and let's move on and have a great convention.
Thanks, Congressman Fattah. And Congressman Brendan Boyle.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and what a great day to be a Philadelphian. I think all of us are walking over the collar and our chests kind of pumped out today because we're all very proud of our city. We know that Philadelphia is the best kept secret in the country. And now come 2015, this fall with Pope Francis coming, and then again in 2016 with the Democratic National Convention, the country's best kept secret won't be so much of a secret anymore. And I think that it's very fitting that exactly 240 years after Philadelphia first made world history, Philadelphia will make history again. I have no doubt that this is going to be pulled off spectacularly. I was really struck by something just a couple weeks ago when all of my congressional Democratic colleagues were in Philadelphia for our annual congressional retreat. I was struck by how many of my colleagues came up to me and said, you know, I know Philadelphia is so close to Washington, but I haven't been here in 10 years, 15 years, in some cases over 20 years. And it really struck me that while I know Philadelphia very well, being born and raised and living in the city. We still are not as well known as we should be to so many people around the country. This is a great opportunity to showcase how great our city is, the third biggest downtown in the country, all of the advances that we've made in sciences and the arts. So it's a wonderful opportunity. And I would also add, this was a smart choice by the Democratic Party. In order to win the White House in 2016, we absolutely have to carry Pennsylvania. Barack Obama carried it by 5 points a few years ago when he won the nation by 4 points. We are a battleground state, so it was a very smart decision to hold this in Philadelphia and in Pennsylvania, and I'm excited to do all I can just to make it a big success. Thank you.
Thanks, Congressman. Can we give all of our speakers a big, big round of applause? Thank them for taking the time. I'm going to give some remarks. We have a couple speakers here, and then again to the press. We'll be glad to take any questions that you might have. So I think by now you've probably figured out that we're pretty excited about being selected as a host city for the 2016 Democratic National Convention. As I mentioned earlier, at least in terms of a process standpoint, 2 years ago, our administration, working with many stakeholders, began a very long process of bringing this convention to our great city. We knew it would be long and complicated, but we also knew that we had the right team, great partners, the infrastructure, the amenities, and the enthusiasm necessary to put together a compelling bid. We literally put our heart and soul into this. I want to thank DNC Chairwoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz, a great, great leader for our party, the entire TAG committee, the Technical Assistance Committee, who had their site visit here in Philadelphia last summer, for the DNC recognizing our tremendous attributes and choosing Philadelphia. Let me also take a brief moment to recognize New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio and Columbus Mayor Michael B. Coleman, both of whom I talked to this morning. They were incredibly supportive, gracious, excited about coming to Philadelphia, but at the same time, we should recognize them and the great teams that they put together, the great bids that they put together. No matter what happened, Debbie Wasserman Schultz acknowledges they had a tough choice. Any one of these cities, great American cities, would have hosted a great Democratic National Convention in 2016. So let us recognize New York and Columbus. Through the U.S. Conference of Mayors, I've worked with both of these mayors. Obviously, all of us have been to New York, but I've also spent some time in Columbus. And the fact of the matter is that the strength of their bids really helped us. And I think all of us, being competitive, all of us knew that these were three great cities with three great bids. And it really did, as some younger people might say, it really did pump up the volume on what we knew we needed to do in order to be successful. And we all pushed each other. And so I know that a great deal of time and effort went into their bids, and both New York and Columbus, again, certainly would have been excellent host cities, and we thank them for this level of engagement and participation. I also especially want to thank our great partners throughout the entire region. We don't just talk about Philadelphia, we talk about the Philadelphia region, Philly, Bucks, Chester, Delaware, Montgomery counties, all of the elected officials and business and civic leaders in those areas as well, who've been tremendously supportive, Democrats and Republicans, of this particular effort. Our hospitality community has been fantastic. Our tourism industry certainly as well. The clergy community and our citizens, the enthusiasm that Philadelphians have shown just about the possibility. Folks have asked me of all races, of all faiths, people excited about Pope Francis coming this year. And people would ask also, are we going to get the convention? And I think everyone had a sense that things have kind of been on a roll a little bit for us here in recent times, but they wanted to see Philadelphia getting this kind of support and attention. And so there is an excitement here in the city about this. Earlier today, Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz called me and made the official and formal request, would the city of Philadelphia agree to be the host city for the 2016 convention? She had to hold the phone away from her ear as I screamed out yes. May have damaged her eardrum a little bit, but she talked about, and just on the conference call earlier, talked about Philadelphia's deep-rooted place in American history and our city's commitment to hosting a seamless and safe convention as some of the reasons that we were selected to host the DNC 2016. And it does make perfect sense. Philadelphia is fast becoming that go-to location to host big events. We have an energetic team that knows the ins and outs of managing large-scale events, providing technical and logistical support, and also organizing safety and transportation and the logistics that go with that. Let me also, on the city side, and you see an array of officials here, but just literally right here in the shop and on the floor, standing right behind me, as he always is, whether he's physically standing there or not, our Chief of Staff and Deputy Mayor for Public Safety, Everett Gillison. Please recognize him and the great work that he's been doing. Our City Representative and Director of Communications and Strategic Partnerships, pouring her heart and soul into this effort, Desiree Peterkin-Bell. We know her as Jazz, but really her name is Giselle Jones, the leader of special projects and special events out of the Managing Director's office. Jazz, fantastic job. Please recognize Jazz. And Melanie Johnson, who took on the great task of looking at big events for the city of Philadelphia. Melanie Johnson, thank you very much as well. Part of what makes Philadelphia such a great location to host large events is our accessibility. Our incredible public transportation systems, our convenient location, our amenities, great nightlife, great shopping, great dining, arts attractions, vibrant neighborhoods, and so much more that make up the infrastructure of our great city. And of course, tremendous venues and thousands and thousands and thousands of hotel rooms all across the city and the region. We last hosted the DNC, as some of you know, and you've heard me say this a number of times, in 1948. And of course, the Republican National Convention was here in 2000. We hosted, of course, the most famous American convention in 1776, the Continental Congress, and we know what the end result was there. And we're ready to make history again with the 2016 Democratic National Convention. In 2000, everyone stepped up to ensure that our great city was ready for the national stage. The regional business community, our network of volunteers and individual citizens, we are ready once again to make history. One last point of personal privilege, and then I'm going to ask the Council President and Kevin Washo to have some comments. The 1948 Democratic National Convention was held at Convention Hall, of course over in West Philadelphia at the time, from July 12th to July 14th, 1948, resulted in the nominations of President Harry S. Truman and Senator Alben Barkley for Vice President in the 48 presidential elections. After proposing a civil rights amendment to the party platform in 1948 in the Democratic Convention, Senate candidate and Minneapolis Mayor Hubert H. Humphrey delivered a speech in support of racial integration, a clear defiance of Southern party leaders, leading to a walkout by the Dixiecrats. Humphrey's actions at the 48 convention helped successfully add a civil rights plank to the party's platform. Quote, "There are those of you who say we are rushing this issue of civil rights. I say we are 172 years late. There are those who say this issue of civil rights is an infringement on states' rights. The time has arrived for the Democratic Party to get out of the shadow of states' rights and walk forthrightly into the bright sunshine of human rights. We'll remind America and the world why the Democratic National Convention should have been held and will be held in the city of liberty, freedom, democracy, the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection, our place we know as Philadelphia." Congratulations to everyone involved in this project. With that, I want to ask Council President Clarke to speak, and then I'm going to ask Kevin Washo, of course, our Executive Director at PHL DNC 2016. Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah. Briefly, I just would like to say on behalf of City Council how excited we are. We sent a letter. I was teasing Councilwoman Tasco about how she had to rush that letter of support. Did you take the train or the car or whatever? You figured out a way to get down there.
Almost ran.
To voice our support. And I just want to say that the members of council are so excited about this and clearly will be supportive as we move towards this particular event. I want to thank a couple of people real quick, and I want to thank Governor Rendell, always the cheerleader in government, out of government, wherever he is. He's a great cheerleader, and he was really pushing extremely hard to make sure we got this done. And I want to thank Bob Brady for Bob's tenacity as it relates to twisting arms, because I know how Bob is. Bob's a pretty big guy, right? And I know he to whatever degree, he was going to make sure this happened. And I want to thank all the participants, the hospitality, the tourism, all of our public servants in the mayor's office throughout, all the wonderful work that you have done, because this is a significant issue, and it took a significant level of commitment. And then I want to talk about the mayor. You know, on occasion I have an opportunity to talk about the mayor. On occasion. And it's usually positive, 99.9% positive.
I'll take that.
All right? But the thing that I say most about the mayor and his team is that they do big events well. All right? I'm serious about that. They do big events well. And I knew once they laid out a platform and a strategy in terms of what they would do to make sure that this was going to be a successful event, I felt quite confident that we would be successful. So the mayor, all of the people that were involved, I just want to thank you all so much, because this is truly a wonderful event, and congratulations on a good job. Job well done.
And so, Council President Clarke, thank you very, very much. I need to get the tape on that.
Mayor, I'm sure it's going to be a whole lot of tape.
Wow, it's a new day. You know, I've gotten any number of messages today, but I think the main one for Kevin is, you know, congratulations, and we wish you well. You have a lot of work to do with all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, our great leader, Kevin Washo.
Thank you very much, and I'll be quick because I know there's probably a lot of questions, but it's funny about this process. Back in, I guess it was April, it was Melanie Johnson, Giselle Jones, Desiree Peterkin Bell, myself, and our attorney Joe Sandler, who's done yeoman's work on this process to get the RFP in. And about 10 months later, we're signing the agreements to get the DNC to come here. So it's funny how life kind of plays itself out. But it was really amazing how this process started and where it's unfolded. One of the things that is fascinating, I'm not from Philadelphia, but I've lived in the city for about 6 years. The sense of focus for this entire project has been amazing. And that goes from the mayor, our congressional delegation, our friends in City Council labor, but also the great leaders at our arena, Wells Fargo, the Convention Center, PHL-CVB, Visit Philly. This process, in a lot of ways, has been all about work and fairly drama-free. And when you think about a process like the convention, it's a major event. It's the Super Bowl, it's a couple other events, and in the end, it's the national party conventions. But I'm just so proud of the team. I'm so proud of our team at PHL DNC 2016. And there was a lot of steps along the way where I think every one of us, if we weren't all rowing in the same direction, this thing could have went a different way. But I think it's a testament to the leadership of the mayor, testament to the city. Everyone knew. I think when we had the site visit back in August, I think we all had a good sense that this thing was actually for real. And as we were getting close to the process, Jordan Schwartz and I were walking home really late last night, probably about 1:30, and we were saying to ourselves, we were just really proud, not just of the work everyone put in, and that's the entire team, and there's so many people that you can't even almost acknowledge everyone, but hopefully we will at some point. But the way we did it, and I think in a lot of ways we kind of kept our nose to the grindstone. We were working very hard. We were very under the radar, but we had a strategy. And I think it was kind of emblematic of the city and of hard work. And we're going to execute. And as the mayor said, now the work begins. We're going to enjoy this for about 10 hours, and then we're going to be back tomorrow morning. I won't tell everyone what time the staff meeting is, but it's going to be pretty early. So we have a lot of money to raise. We have a lot of coordination. But this is a great day for the city, a great day for the region and the state. And I'm very proud to be a part of the operation and proud to be a Philadelphian. Thank you.
So with that in mind, we'd be glad to try to answer any questions that we can from the news media. Bruce.
Mayor, given the traditional rivalries and sometimes sniping that goes on back and forth, any particular extra smile on your face with being out
in the work? Actually, Mayor de Blasio got in touch with me before I was able to get in touch with him. Again, totally gracious. I mean, we all know each other. We work in this, and everybody has an obligation to promote their city, highlight their assets, and really push hard. And so, I just described it as, this will just be the Amtrak convention, and folks will be going up and down from Philly to New York. We never got into we have to beat New York, we have to beat Columbus. Our mindset has always been, let's show people who we are. Let's demonstrate what we have. At some point, the facts will kind of speak for themselves. And I always just whenever in this kind of situation, I just always talked about, our strengths, our amenities. We have 11,600 hotel rooms in the Center City region. It only takes 12 to 15 minutes to get to the Wells Fargo Center. You'll be able to go to so many events and activities before gavel time at, I guess around 8 o'clock or so, and when the gavel's back down at 11 or so. We showed the tag team during the summer all the different facilities and amenities of Philadelphia, and they're thinking about, parties and events and fundraisers and all of that. When you look at the Wells Fargo Center and the special services area, the complex down there, you could see the technicians looking at the vast, what we see as parking areas, which are huge, but also they're, looking at logistics about buses and satellite trucks and the media and how you build out, tented areas. And so we just focused on the three things the chairwoman always said were important: security, logistics, fundraising. All the rest for us was really just kind of drama and all the chatter and the noise, that's out there. And if you just stay focused sometimes on the fundamentals, look, we have a great team here, and we have a story to tell about this city. There's only one Liberty Bell. It's here. There's only one Independence Hall. It's here. There's only one National Constitution Center. It's here. There's only one Barnes. There's only one art museum. Two rivers. All the things that have made Philadelphia great for a long period of time. We had a targeted 2+ days to take them around and show what has happened in the city over a long period of time. Not just in recent times, but the buildup that we've been talking about for some time. So, I think you evaluate all that, and New York was telling its story, and Columbus was telling its story, but I think for us, it was just about staying focused, not getting caught up in drama, and hammering home the point that we can do this, we're ready for it. When you have folks like, Jay-Z and Pope Francis pick your city to do stuff, it's like, what else are you going to do, right? So, next question, John. Yeah. So the general numbers that are out, and you talked to Governor Rendell, and I think, you're looking at something in the $70 to $80 million range. This all has to be raised privately. I think the differences, quite frankly, in 2016 as compared to 2012, and even as compared to 2000. So you have a heavily Democratic city that hosted the Republican National Convention in 2000, pre-9/11. So, a lot of obviously there was security at the 2000 convention, but the world has changed. The federal government provides, has in the past at least, provided each host city with a fairly significant security grant to deal with the fact that you're going to have all these folks here and members of Congress and the president and past presidents, et cetera, et cetera. But there were some restrictions in 2012 in Charlotte. You could not accept corporate donations. That restriction, we believe, will not be in place for 2016. The fact that we, not me, we, the kind of royal we, back in 2000 under the leadership of Governor Rendell, and again, I mentioned it in another call, I may not have mentioned it here today, we're going to benefit from the leadership and advice and active engagement by David L. Cohen, who has made a commitment to Chairwoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz to be the senior advisor to PHL DNC 2016. That is huge for us. And as I mentioned, Dan Hilferty here as well. So the environment is completely different, certainly from the 2000 convention, but also from the 2012 in Charlotte, in that there's just much more financial resource that is available. Our commitment is to raise all the dollars that are necessary privately and away from any city government resources.
Held their first meeting at the Union League that city taxpayers, to your point just now, might get saddled in the end with paying out-of-pocket expenses.
Right.
How do you hope to work around that?
Well, you know, the fact of the matter is that's, I mean, I think I feel fairly comfortable in saying now that, I mean, that was a part of the reason why I wasn't at the meeting. I needed to have, and I made reference to it this morning, maybe too subtly, I had a series of meetings with Congressman Brady and some other folks about, quote unquote, the city's side of this. And I needed to make sure that we were very, very clear about what we could do, what we would do, and what we would not do. And I was not going to do that in public, and I was not going to, you know, kind of get into that kind of dialogue. And quite frankly, Congressman Brady kind of covered for me for a while, because I needed to make sure that our message was clear to everyone that was involved as to what we were prepared to do and what we could not do. And upon having that understanding and that kind of agreement, you then began, I think, to see more and more active engagement by me personally in this particular effort. But I just needed to make sure for myself that all those communications were clear with Congressman Brady, with Governor Rendell, and other folks as to what we could do or what we could not do. And so, as again, my answer to the previous question is the same. We will need to raise all of these dollars privately and away from the city. We can do that. This is a marketplace that has supported any number of incredible events. And the fact that we were successful, again, I do not mean to put myself in, because I did not raise one dime for the 2000 convention. So when I say we, when the city, when the host committee, the 2000 host committee, raising $64+ million for the Republican National Convention in a city that has an 8-to-1 registration edge, Democrats to Republicans, where in many instances some of the union community may not have been as actively engaged in the Charlotte convention for various reasons. Those issues have gone away. We will not have any trouble raising money for this convention. Folks are excited. They are ecstatic. They are enthusiastic. And we will enthusiastically and ecstatically take their money to support this particular convention here in Philadelphia. Yes.
Average Philadelphian, the family that lives on or along South Broad, whose life, at least for that portion of time, will be disrupted in some way because of this. They don't care about politics, let's say. They want to just get to the grocery store and find a parking spot. What do you say to those people who have reservations about bringing the DNC here?
Well, you know, I haven't had that conversation with any of those Philadelphians. I think most of it, you know, and I would only beg of all of you if we could at least have one positive day of press about this and be enthusiastic before we you know, before we revert to our usual snarky selves. You know, I think people get it that we have big events here in Philadelphia. There may be some people from time to time who might be slightly inconvenienced by the Mummers Parade, but they deal with it. There might be some folks who are potentially inconvenienced by Welcome America, but they deal with it. Or the bike race, or the Broad Street Run, which goes past that same person's house. Philadelphians are resilient. They're actually enthusiastic, notwithstanding whatever you might be reporting at any moment in time. They were really enthusiastic about the Phillies World Series Championship parade down Broad Street, and no one complained about that. So, you know, it's a couple days in the city. Folks will figure it out. Philadelphians are a lot smarter than sometimes you all give them credit for. Yes?
What sort of financial impact do you think this will have, and have you been able to quantify any estimates in terms of what that will be?
You know, we'll go through that, and there are certainly some studies from the 2000. I think this is, try not to give anybody free advertising, but I think this is one of those, you know, there's a commercial on TV, and they talk about, you know, 2 hot dogs, you know, $15, and the program is $25, spending time with your kids, priceless. I think there is a level of pricelessness to the city being the host here. But there will be an economic impact. It will be positive. There's no question about it. And the kind of press and impressions, the live broadcasts, the streaming, and all the other stuff that goes with it, you could never afford to pay for that. I mean, I think people have to understand that every national journalist will be in Philadelphia for probably 5 or 6 days. There's a setup and then the departure on both ends. Virtually every country in the world will send journalists to Philadelphia to report on this convention. They will shop here, they will dine here, they will sleep here, they will do, they'll do other things, they'll dance, they'll do whatever it is they do. Try not to go down that path, but maybe an explosion of kids next year, whatever. But I mean, the point is that people will get to see this city in a very different way. And as my colleagues hear me talk about all the time, I mean, if you haven't been to Philly, the last 5 years or so, you haven't been to Philly. And so this is a level of attention that this city deserves, that we have earned, and that we should be proud about the fact that A, we've been selected, and B, we should really use it as a moment to really lift Philadelphia up and be excited. Last question.
Hi, just a couple of follow-ups on the fundraising and cost sharing. You mentioned a possible security grant from the federal government. If hypothetically they give you 20, does that mean that that's 20 off of the 70 or 80 you have to raise? And also, when you say no city contribution, does that mean that the city overtime, so the police department, the streets department, that will be covered as part of the host committee's expenses and not come out of the general fund?
Yeah, well, actually, the two questions are kind of combined. Historically, again, the federal government, the Congress, and the President have given a pretty sizable security grant to the host cities, out of which the exact issues that you mentioned are for that purpose. And so it is to pay for security, not just only on the federal side, but also to cover some of what they know to be the costs of police overtime, cleanup services, equipment, all of those kinds of issues are all eligible expenses under the federal grant. So we are paying particular attention. I was in D.C. yesterday meeting with our congressional delegation about a bunch of city issues, but that particular issue was a topic of discussion with our own delegation. 2 weeks ago, I was in Washington for the annual winter meeting of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, meeting with some leaders in both the House and the Senate, and raised this issue as well. So we're obviously hopeful that the kind of grant that they've given in the past stays in place, but if for some reason it is lessened, it just means that, the governor, Kevin, myself, Congressman Brady, and a bunch of others just have to raise more money.
Police overtime and that kind of thing?
That is not our expectation. We want to raise all dollars and have it contained within what the host committee generates, as well as the federal grant. But again, much of that police overtime and security services is the purpose of this federal grant in the first place. I mean, we have to have a secure environment. I mean, that's not a partisan issue. They want the same thing in Cleveland, and we want the same thing in Philadelphia.
Ms. Wasserman did in a press release. I mean, that was like up at the top of the list. I mean,
yeah.
How important was your history with Washo America, like you mentioned, all these big events, to really gathering and getting these seats?
Well, I mean, again, you have to think about what is this, right? So there are going to be 35,000, 40,000 people in the arena, around the arena. You've got thousands of members of press. You'll have hundreds of members of Congress. You'll have ambassadors to various countries. You'll have consul generals and a variety of other people. Unfortunately, but in accordance with who we are as Americans, folks like to demonstrate, and that happens at all conventions, both for the Democrats and the Republicans. People want to be safe and secure. We want the demonstrators to be able to do their thing, because that's that's their right as Americans, and we need to make sure that the participants, convention delegates and other folks, are safe as well. So again, in a post-9/11 environment, every convention has had to go through this. Obviously, there were safety measures in place pre-9/11, but that has really escalated, and life has changed. We know what goes on, in the world, and so the level of coordination, Philadelphia Police, Office of Emergency Management, State Police, FBI, DEA, DHS, all of those various agencies. But again, we were able to communicate with the DNC that when you look at, I can rattle off a half a dozen events on our calendar, from the Mummers Parade to the Broad Street Run, to the bike race, to Welcome America, to Made in America this year, to World Meeting of Families, and a marathon. We do a lot of big events here, and they've looked at that over time, and other people have looked at that, which is why other folks have chosen Philadelphia, and that's a credit to police and fire and EMS and all of those services. People know that we have a top-notch team to deal with this work. So thank you all very much. You'll be hearing from us in the future, but go Philadelphia.